Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Blackheart Models Count Orlok Nosferatu life-size polystone statue. Having already looked at the Bela Lugosi Dracula busts, I want to continue his look at vampires. Vampire busts from the folks over at Blackheart Models. You can head over to www.blackheartmodels and check out some of the phenomenal busts that they have over there. They have ones pre-painted, or you can get ones and paint them yourself. They have a whole ton of different ones. Some of the personal favorites of mine are the Frankensteins. I'd love to get my hands on those. As for box art, it's similar in the sense that it's primarily a black box. As you can then see the model, the bust on the front of what the bust is going to look like when we get this out of box. Now, I've actually got this in a larger reviewing space just because these busts are so big in size. It is a life-sized 1:1 scale pre-painted bust of Count Orlok Nosferatu. The side of the box has the shadowed silhouette of Nosferatu walking up the stairwell, one of the more iconic, perhaps not one of the most iconic, the most iconic scene most people remember is the door, of course, swinging open, Nosferatu standing right there, but captured very nicely here on the side of the box. As for the back, you've got several images, of Count Orlok, as well as a read-up. It says there has been more than 200 films inspired by or based on Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. The most famous is the 1931 film in which Bela Lugosi portrayed Count Dracula, the role for which he is best remembered. The other actor most identified is not beloved in. The role of Count Dracula is Christopher Lee, who played the vampire count in 7 films between 1958 and 1973. However, the first film based on Stoker's novel is Nosferatu, a symphony of horror. The German expressionist silent-era horror film directed by F.W. Murnau. The film stars Max Schreck as the vampire Count Orlok, the role in which he, too, is best remembered. Shot in 1921, 10 years before Lugosi played the vampire on screen, and released in 1922, the film is an unauthorized adaptation of Stoker's novel. The characters' names and other details were changed because the studio did not obtain the film rights to the novel. After Bram Stoker's widow sued over the adaptation, a court ruling directed that all copies of the film be destroyed. Thankfully, a few prints of Nosferatu survived, and the film has come to be regarded as an influential masterpiece of cinema. Except for his aristocratic bearing, Lugosi's portrayal of the vampire had none of the horror and vampire conventions movie audiences have come to expect from films in this subgenre. The look at Schreck's vampire, on the other hand, frightened movie audiences. He was a gaunt and bald and frightening with rat-like fangs, bat-like ears, and cat-like claws at the end of the inhumanly long fingers. Schreck's portrayal of Count Orlok has been more stylistically influential with respect, I should say, to the vampire's look than Lugosi's less monstrous, minimalist, and cerebral portrayal of Count Dracula. Fans of horror and vampire films may reasonably disagree about which type of portrayal is ultimately more frightening, but we dig them both. Blackheart Enterprises LLC is proud to have collaborated with 4 very talented artists in recreating this life-sized tribute to Max Schreck as Nosferatu, Count Orlok. Sculpted by Jeff Yeager, masterfully integrated authentic textures and ultra-realistic detailing in a Nosferatu likeness that is credible and as accurate as can be achieved. Brazilian artist Amilcar Fong's detailed sketches beautifully aided and captured Blackheart's concept and vision for our Nosferatu bust. Professional modeler Greg McKellar made the sculpture come to life in his painted master that served as the paint pattern for our bust. And credit for the Nosferatu box label design goes to artist, designer, and good friend Steve Park. With that read up aside, Spot's going to take a break and get this out of box, but when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Blackheart Models Count Orlok Nosferatu life-sized polystone statue. Here's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. The bust is now out of box, but it's actually not complete. It comes in a couple of different components. The main component being, of course, the bust that you see right here. We'll do some close look details at the bust. Don't worry, Spot will cover all of that. But you'll probably see that there's a hole, right? Hopefully you can see it's right there. See there? There's a little hole at the bottom of the bust. That's because he actually comes in a couple of different components. He comes in actually a total of 3 components. The main bust, then you get this hand. And it just feels weird me holding this hand because it's so lifelike. In fact, the fingernails, I think, is what gives it the most lifelike appearance. But it's so lifelike, I feel like I'm holding a real hand in my hand. There is a peg right here that's going to attach to the hole on that bust. And I'll show you that in a second. But if I can just flip it around, it would basically look like this when you plug it into place. Again, I'll show you that in a second. But it plugs into place. And then in the hand, or actually, you know what, before I talk about the third item, I just want to show you a close-up look at the hand. That's just very creepily accurate. Like it looks like a real hand. I have a thing against fingernails. I don't know why. Movies where fingernails are being pulled out of the actual fingers grosses me right out. And there's a certain, like, accurate, realistic the way that these nails have been done, it's creeping me right out. But I guess it's a testament to just the phenomenal sculpt that they put into this by looking at just how realistic those nails are. A slight discoloring, of course, at the base or root of the nail as it gets progressively lighter and more translucent to the tip of the nails. The hand is also geared towards holding something as well, as the Nosferatu also comes with a locket pendant. The pendant is not metal, but does come across like it's made of a metal material. There's an image there of them in the middle. Nice paint, though, I must say, on the locket itself. Now, the locket sits inside his hand, and the best way to sit it is actually by sitting it on the ledge of the finger. By not sitting it there, or by sitting it there, you get a pretty secure fit. It holds the locket quite well. What you do, though, want to make sure is it's lined up against basically like the thumb and the finger section right there. Again, it holds it quite well. But from there, we can go ahead and attach this hand to the bust itself. To accomplish that, it's probably easier if I just hold my camera like I did with the Bela Lugosi, but you want to take the peg, so the peg right there, and line it up to the bust. Now the hand wants to sit forward as to give you an idea of how the hand is going to situate on the bust itself. Then we can go ahead and grab the locket, which I've actually got over here. There we go. Grab the locket, and that just sits into his hand like that. And that gives us our completed Nosferatu bust. The bust is scarily accurate, if scarily would be a word. Scarily accurate to Count Orlok or Nosferatu from the film. The paintwork, and I mentioned this also with the Bela Lugosi Dracula, even if the paint, which by far the paint is just phenomenal, but even if the paint was left off, the bust itself is sculpted incredible. You can see all the little wrinkles around the eye area and the eyebrows. He's got his Nosferatu very sharp teeth, as you can see there, and his cracked lips. The eyes have a piercing nature to them as well. I feel like he's looking into my soul. Again, that's all paint. It just looks like it's real eyeballs that they've used. Obviously they didn't, but just fantastic work. Again, the wrinkles right around I'm looking through my camera here, the wrinkles right around the eyeball area, really top notch. The hat. Now, this is a testament to sculpt. When you have something like a hat, and that looks like real fabric, but it's not, I think that's a true sign of good sculpt. The jacket equally so, very nicely sculpted, and you've got the little scarf underneath there. Primarily the color on the outfit is similar vein to, and I said vein, oh vampires, is in a similar vein to Lugosi's. Very primary in color. There's not like a lot of wash that's added or darker areas to bring out some of the recessed sections of the fabric, nor the same could be said for like the hat. But really, if you look at real fabric doesn't really cast a lot of dark shadowing, so by keeping a very neutral paint color scheme, it looks the most accurate in my opinion. I'm really impressed with the skin tone that they've given him. All the little cracks. The cracks appear that they're not sculpted rather than paint. They are actually painted in. He has a very dead color tone to his flesh, which is nice. Although there are little areas around the ears that are painted more in kind of a pink, just a little bit of warmth to break up the very pale white aspects of his existing flesh color. And of course down to his very creepy looking hands. I feel like if anything's going to be fragile on this, be very careful of the fingernails, especially when you're like, if I'm going to be having this out on Halloween, for example, packing this away, be very careful of fingernails. I just wouldn't want those to actually break. But just an incredible likeness. Incredible in the sense that I would feel if I'm walking down the stairs in the middle of the night and it's dark and I forget that this bust is out on display, I have to admit, I think I would actually jump. I think I would jump feeling like somebody was actually in the room with me. And I think personally, a lot of that can once again be chalked up to the eyes. The paint, the eyes themselves, I feel like he's looking right at me. Price-wise for Count Orlok here, he runs at $689. $689. The Bela Lugosi ran at $634. This guy's a little bit taller, and because he's got the additional appendage of the hand, would make sense for the difference of about $50 or so. He is by far, of course, as you could imagine, a high-end recreated bust statue. For starters, it's a 1-to-1 scale, so you're getting a true life scale replica of how Orlok would have appeared if he was literally in your collection, like on display. Geared more, I said this in the Bela Lugosi review, that I feel like these statues are geared towards the high-end collectors. And by no means do I mean to alienate other collectors out there, but certainly at a over $600 price point, this would be geared towards, I think, the fans of horror films that certainly don't mind spending the $600 price point to get a beautiful statue like this. For me, essentially, you're getting what you pay for, like a high-end collectible. You know, you start getting to the $500 to $1,000 price point. Is this guy worth it? I would say yes, but again, like if you don't have the $600 price point, it's certainly a little bit more of an expensive collectible to add to your display. Just a simply stunning piece. Makes me certainly want to pick up more of these as well. If you haven't had a chance, Spot will put the link down below. I don't know why I'm doing this with my finger, but I'll put the link down below to Black Heart Models. Definitely head over there if you get a chance. They of course have pre-painted ones like the Nosferatu and the Bela Lugosi Dracula that we've already had a look at, and then they've got also some unpainted statues as well, which is really a good way that if you as a collector want to get these statues and maybe don't have the means to afford the $600 price point, a lot of that can be chalked up to the fact that these are also painted. That's where a lot of the money goes towards, the fact that these are painted statues. Because really, they have a lot of other busts available on their website, which are much more affordable, but it would also involve you having to paint them as well. Definitely give them a chance. Definitely have a look at their website when you do get a chance, as they do have Frankenstein. They've got even some xenomorph, really cool bust statues as well, so check that out. In the meantime, today's collectible spot, while still sticking to the theme of vampires, Spot wanted to have a look today at the Black Heart. This was the painted 1-to-1 scale, 360-degree Nosferatu bust. Thought it was also fitting that Halloween being right around the corner, we had to look at some Universal monsters. Certainly stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.